The comments also kind of got a chuckle over the struggle of separating the eggs from the yolks. I use this method where I just use the shell to go back in, scoop the egg yolk out. You get less contamination of your egg whites with the egg yolks, which is critical during the whisking and making the fluff of the egg whites. And you don't have to buy any special tools, nothing fancy. You just scoop it out. One even said, let it run through your fingers and keep the yolk in your fingers. That makes sense too.
You can see the ingredients in this. It's extremely simple for the cloud bread. You've got 4 large eggs separated, a half a cup of full-fat cottage cheese, 2 tablespoons of cream cheese that's softened, half a teaspoon of cream of tartar, and just a pinch of salt. All of that is going into the cloud bread.
There are trace carbs in this recipe. Most of the carbs in the recipe come from the cottage cheese. Generally, you're using whole milk cottage cheese, and that has 5 grams per cup. There's only a half a cup in that, so you're talking 2.5 grams if you were to eat this entire recipe. Not a lot, but that's trace carbs when you come down to thinking about eating just one pizza. That's you're probably getting only a half carb, maybe 2 carb, maybe 1 carb in a whole pizza within the crust. That is amazing. So this first comment in Cooking with Dave's Cloud Bread Pizza video was dealing with the difficulty that he said he had with making the fluffing up or whipping the egg whites. The recommendation was from somebody who said they were a 25-year chef. He said make certain that the equipment that you're whipping the eggs in is immaculate clean, scalding hot water, no grease in it whatsoever. And the tartar mixed with the egg whites is a stiffener. And if there's any contamination in there, it makes it more and more difficult to get that, what they call solid peaks that are there in the whipped eggs. And really the whipped eggs are the most crucial part of this video because it adds the fluff to this low carb cloud bread recipe.
Following that bit of advice, we use the sanitize option on our dishwasher in order to get all of that equipment squeaky clean. While that whisk is running, go ahead and work on the other side of this, which is the egg yolk, the cream cheese, and the cottage cheese, and a pinch of salt, all mixed together. You've got to work on those clumps for a while to get them all to dissolve in that liquid mixture.
Somebody also made the explanation when you're whipping the eggs or whisking those eggs into the fluff, it's the cream of tartar that ends up creating those peaks and getting them to stay because it's a thickener.
And here's the magic. This is where they say that peak that holds is what's important. Now you're going to get that cream cheese, egg yolk, and that pinch of salt all mixed together, as many of the lumps as you can get out. That's why that mixing process with the cottage cheese is what's so important in order to get those clumps to not be there.
The next commenter tip is to use a rubber spatula, same rubber spatula, to fold the egg whites into the egg yolks. It makes a big difference on how you mix those together because you don't want the egg white fluff to collapse during the mixing. Don't use a regular spoon, don't use a fork. You're not going to get a good mix. Perfect for folding. Another great comment.
There was another commenter that stated the circular motion around the outside of the bowl with the spatula is the best way to fold these and not run the risk of that egg white collapsing. You'll also be folding this in thirds, not all at once. People seem to comment and make it seem like this is a really big deal about this whisked egg whites collapsing. I haven't had a problem yet. If you know why this is so sensitive and why it's such a big deal, mistakes that can be made, please comment down below and advice that you can give anywhere in this cook to make this easier or better, or even things that I missed. Next, you're going to get some parchment paper, throw it on a cookie sheet, and you're going to form your pizza dough shape. This needs to be about a half of an inch thick, and we decided to do one larger one and then went ahead and made 4 personal size pizzas that will experiment a little bit with the sauces, not just a white sauce, but also a red sauce or your typical spaghetti sauce. Then you're going to throw that into a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. Because of the nature of how our oven works, and this is also a double stack, we rotated those halfway through the cook.
I really like this comment, and it's actually going to change how I make my crumbled hamburger and crumbled sausage. It was before you break up the sausage, leave it as a whole block and sear the outside. If you think about it, that makes sense. The reason why a sear works is there's not much liquid, and if you put it in as a whole block and sear the outside and then mix it up, you're going to get that better sear flavor, the Maillard, I can never say that word, the Maillard effect, and that browning will be much better if done as a block. Flip it over to the other side and then break it up. You're going to get better flavor out of that. For our sausage topping, and it's a bit unusual to put on pizza, but we love chorizo. So we're going to be using chorizo sausage as one of our toppings, and it has less carbs than the varieties that I'm able to choose inside my grocery store. This is the lowest carb option.
We did our ground beef in the exact same manner, as well as adding in some dried onions, some dried garlic, and some salt and pepper. Once those come out of the oven, you're going to want to let them cool for about 10 minutes, then separate them away from the parchment paper.
Here's a tip that was given over and over and over again in the comments section, and that's once you do the initial cook, flip the dough over so that you've got the crusty side on the bottom. That results in a crust on the bottom and then a brown crust on the top as well. Therefore, you get a more rigid dough, rigid pizza dough, rather than just cooking it all with one bottom.
In the fast motion there, you may have picked up that we also put Italian seasoning on top, as well as brushed it in bacon grease. That just adds a little bit of extra flavor, makes it a little easier to come off the parchment paper later.
I hope my audience has some other tips and tricks that can be learned same way as Cooking with Dave did. Those are great comments. We're almost at 50,000 subscribers here, and I want to thank all of you in my audience for subscribing, participating, making the comments. You guys are all great.
We also, in the last 5 to 6 minutes, we're kind of watching it to make certain that our cheese gets that brown crust, and we even turn on the convection oven in order to make the browning even.
So I've already tasted this, and it's no test on me. I think it tastes fantastic, but my daughter isn't even on low carb, so we're gonna see if that passes that test.
I'm nervous. It was really good.
Do you taste the sauce in it at all? Tell me what you're tasting.
I do taste the egg, and I want to say it almost tastes like an omelet, but not an omelet.
Does it have like a doughy type?
Yeah, it does. On the inside. It's good. I'm impressed.
There you go.
So what about the personal pizza style? Those came out just as well. We even did experiment with both a white sauce as well as a red sauce on it. And there's not many carbs in that red sauce. So use that if you can find a low carb variant. Rao is easy to find usually. A little bit on the expensive side, but it does taste different. You definitely want to put at least some sauce on this pizza.
I'm gonna save the nice, pretty round one for my wife. I'll eat the lumpy one. I definitely like the lower carb spaghetti sauce. A bit more. You've got to make this happen. So YouTube says that this video is perfect for your viewing habits. This is my latest upload, and over here is a playlist you might just enjoy. I hope you liked it. If you did, please click like, subscribe, share, and come on back for more.